They don't want that free blues. Yo, welcome back to Free Blues Boxing. Hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell for limited boxing content. We are Mike. Yo, what is up, the whole boxing community and world of boxing? Look out. Former light welterweight division champion Regis Prograis ripping shots for a potential Mikey Garcia fight. Mikey Garcia, 40-0, 30 knockouts, against a Regis Prograis, 26-1, 22 knockouts. We know that they've been entertaining this fight, this potential mega fight for a while. Both fighters have the same promoter in Al Heyman, and this will be a Showtime pay-per-view fight. Stylistically, both guys are heavy hitters. Regis Prograis, 85% knockout ratio. Only one loss. Regis, a former WBA champion at the light welterweight division. Mikey Garcia, a four-division world champion coming all the way from featherweight. And just looking at it from the outside on how both of their careers have transpired, both very similar. We've seen their ups and their downs, the last few years of their career. Regis Prograis coming out of Louisiana, we see how much of a sensation he was coming up. Mikey Garcia, sensation, a knockout artist, a Mexican warrior as well, being trained by Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia, in fact, his brother, has been training him all along. Robert Garcia is a very underrated trainer. He's trained Marcus Maidana, who I think is a very underrated fighter. I would argue gave Floyd Money Mayweather his toughest two fights. And I would argue the reason Mikey Garcia has been so good is that he's been able to spar, all the Mexican champions, the Mexican veteran champions growing up. And he's got a lot of power too. His right hand is very lethal. He could crack. His brother Robert Garcia has played a pivotal role in basically his maturation process, and taking those experience from the veterans and help leverage Mikey Garcia's career. Now, Mikey's a very technical fighter. He has a very good resume. He's beat Adrian Broner. He's beat Robert Garcia in a unified lightweight bout as well. Some might say, well, who is Adrian Broner? Adrian Broner is a weak boxer. No, Adrian Broner is a four-time division world champion. Mikey Garcia, he came in there and he dominated him. Unlike when Adrian Broner fought Manny Pacquiao and tried to say that, quote unquote, he beat that boy. When he lost to Mikey Garcia, he was just like, it is what it is type of attitude. AB was outpointed. Mikey Garcia has a great jab. He knows how to control distance. He sets up. He's really good at using his jab and setting up, those body shots. Ripping the left and the right, and all in all, just keeping his guard up as well, in which a lot of fighters struggle to do and eventually end up getting clipped and knocked out. We can even talk about when Mikey fought Errol Spence Jr., which I think was a huge mistake. Many people in the boxing world believe Mikey Garcia should not have done that. He probably still would have been undefeated. And on top of that, to my knowledge, Mikey Garcia had vacated his belts to move up to 147 just to prove the critics wrong. What I noticed that the fans do, and which I think boxers should really mute, especially on social media, is when fans kind of hype up your head to say, go fight an Errol Spence Jr., which besides Terrence Crawford, is the best welterweight in the world. That took place 2017. It was on Showtime pay-per-view. What that showed is that there's weight classes for a reason. Mikey Garcia jumping up from lightweight to welterweight, 2 weight classes, to fight the best in the world in Errol Spence Jr. was a pure mistake. Now, if you watch that fight, you see now Errol Spence used his size, he used his boxing IQ, and just dominated Mikey Garcia. But we also noticed that a boxing legend, Manny Pacquiao, had attended that fight, and sources say that he was actually scouting Mikey Garcia And probably just looking at the, landscaping the welterweight division as well. At the time, Errol Spence, was still dominating at that time. He was beating Kell Brook, took Kell Brook's IBF belt, beat Lamont Peterson, and it was just a bad timing for Mikey Garcia to go up and fight Errol Spence Jr. This was before Errol Spence fought Sean Porter for that WBC, but right now Errol Spence is a unified champion, holding both the IBF and WBC belts. But anyways, Manny Pacquiao attended the Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence fight, and you seen that Errol Spence had beat Mikey Garcia, and fast forward to now, Manny Pacquiao's about to fight Errol Spence. So I don't know. It's just pretty crazy how everything has transpired. Now, what I noticed in Mikey Garcia, for just being honest, it seemed like his confidence has been shot ever since jumping up 2 weight classes and being destroyed by Errol Spence Jr. And watching Mikey Garcia and all his interviews now, it just looked like he's not the same. And he hasn't even been too active like that. His last fight in 2019, he beat Jessie Vargas. But he's and he did fight Errol Spence Jr. on pay-per-view, so he's still acting like a prize fighter. But since he's lost, he needs to get back on his feet. It's clear he's not going to say it, but it's clear he wants the Manny Pacquiao fight at 147. Errol Spence Jr. is about to get that fight in August. Obviously with all the belts on the line. He needs to go down, stay at 140, and fight these names, like a Regis Prograis, which would be a mega fight. It seems as though he's being a little too over-analytical, and looks like he doesn't really have much of a desire to fight. When they asked Mikey, so what you think about potential fights with Teofimo Lopez or Josh Taylor or Regis Prograis, he was just like, if it's on my terms and it makes sense, and if it's in the time frame that I want to fight, then let's go. But it doesn't really, in his demeanor, it doesn't really seem like he wants to fight. Like I said, stylistically and career-wise, both fighters in Regis Prograis, Mikey Garcia, would just be a perfect fight. Obviously, Regis Prograis lost to Josh Taylor and got his, I believe his WBA belt snatched away. We see what Josh Taylor has been able to do at the light welterweight division, and just beat Jose Ramirez in the unification. Regis Prograis, a powerful, slick southpaw at the welterweight division. We know Mikey Garcia has a problem with powerful welterweights. Powerful southpaws. We've seen that in Errol Spence Jr. Regis Prograis, he's also slick. He's also a southpaw, and it would just make a great fight. If you were to fight Regis Prograis. We got Gervonta Tank Davis about to fight Mario Barrios for that WBA belt at the light junior welterweight division. So we'll just have to see how things play out. Regis Prograis in a recent interview did say that it's a huge possibility that this fight's gonna happen. He said he talked to Robert Garcia. He said he talked to all the promoters and what have you. So right now we're just on standby, and hopefully later this year. They don't want that free blues. Yo, thank you for watching Free Blues Boxing. Hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell for unlimited boxing content. Until next time.